Okay. So guys, just a bit of introduction. So my name is Ashish. I will be helping you with training of your checkpoint CCSA and other related certificates. We'll go through the overview what we will do in this class. So any one of you have any background, any working experience on checkpoint, guys?
Hi Ashish, Chetan here. I'm based out from Bangalore. I have a prior experience, maybe 3 years before I have worked in R77. Not the advanced, but the day-to-day work like adding rules, natting and anti-spoofing.
Uh-huh. Fine. So I'll take you through the syllabus once, just so that you know what we are covering. So we are the batch is divided into two parts. The first is the intermediate, and the second is the advanced batch. In the intermediate batch, you will know everything about the CCSA, and you will be able to use and troubleshoot checkpoint firewall. So what is checkpoint? First of all, checkpoint is a cybersecurity solution which provide its um, products, majorly a firewall. So checkpoint majorly provides a different types of firewall which you can use in your different enterprises or your industry standards. It generally provides your NGFW, which is your next generation firewall. Okay. This course is dedicated to CCSA, which is Checkpoint Certified Security Administrator. You will validate your ability to install, configure, and manage Checkpoint Security Gateway and management on the Gaia operating system. So based on the topics, it is not purely CCSA. We will be covering some other advanced topics, which are VSX and other things. So it is around CCSA, CCSE, and CCVS. Three certificates of knowledge, worth of knowledge, you will get it in this training program. So if you look into the curriculum, in the intermediate batch, the module one, which will start today, will be an introduction about the checkpoint and the appliances series, so that you know what products checkpoint offer, what product is good for your organization, or in future when you suggest someone. We'll be discussing about the architecture and different terminologies which checkpoint use in in their documents and everywhere. Then in module two, we'll deploy the checkpoint gateway and management. There are multiple ways which you can deploy. You can deploy it either on your laptops or you can use the networking labs as well. So it depends on you how you want, or at your ease, you can deploy. We'll be talking about all the deployment scenarios which Checkpoint offers, and we'll be doing lab on it. How we can deploy your firewall on different kind of architectures, like on your VM or on your networking labs. And then we'll talk about how a packet is processed inside a checkpoint firewall. What happens between ingress and egress interface? What happens when the packet hits the firewall? We will go into the flow processing, logical flow of the firewall. What happens in inbound chain? What happens in the outbound chain and everything? Then we'll talk about the policy management. So there are different techniques checkpoint use to create a policy. What are the different types of policies? What is the access threat prevention? How you can create a NAT rule? How you can create a URL filtering policy? How you can create a threat prevention policy? All these things will be discussed in this section, along with a bit of QoS. Then we'll talk about the logs and monitoring, which is an important part when you want to provide an RCA, a root cause analysis, or when you need to analyze what happened, let's say yesterday, let's say there was an incident yesterday, and you need to provide document to your management. Then how and what logs can you exactly check or look into it? We'll be doing that in detail, like how we can provide an RCA. Then we'll be deploying a cluster. Cluster is a high availability. What happens if one hardware fails? So we'll be talking about the cluster Excel redundancy, deploying labs about everything. And then we'll talk about the VSX. So VSX is equivalent to context if you talk about Cisco, how a single hardware can be divided into multiple virtual firewalls. And you can use that virtual firewalls with, for different departments or for different uh, customers as well. Still module 7, that is intermediate module. Then we'll start our advanced checkpoint course, which is the starting module is the threat prevention, where we'll be discussing about in depth about IPS, how an IPS signature gets matched, what happen when we say deep packet level inspection, how IPS engine inspects the traffic inside the packet. Then we'll talk about the HTTPS inspection, how any firewall will be able to decrypt the traffic which is traversing through it. All these details will go into detail. Then the performance technologies we'll discuss about the the technologies checkpoint offer, which are secure XL, core XL. Why should we accelerate the traffic and everything? Then a best part for admins, if you are working as a network admin or you're working on other firewalls, like how you can upgrade a checkpoint firewall from a lower version to a higher version, how you can downgrade, and how you can install a fix. If checkpoint provides you a private fix for an issue, for a bug, how you can install it. Okay, there are multiple ways you can upgrade or install a hotfix. We'll be discussing about different upgrade scenarios and what you can do in this. Then we'll talk in brief about the routing, how you can configure BGP and OSPF. We will be not discussing about the technology part of BGP and OSPF, but how it works on checkpoint. Okay, how you can deploy or make a neighborship with BGP and OSPF. Then we'll talk in brief about the policy-based routing. And in the last module, we'll be talking about the troubleshooting, how you can troubleshoot the checkpoint, critical issues like high CPU, high memory, how you can fix a cluster Excel issues, packet drops. And then we'll be discussing about different tools, different Linux tools. If you see in the last TCP dump, traceroute, hping, and the checkpoint specific tools. So if you want to be a checkpoint admin, you need to know about these tools and how you can use these tools in your day-to-day life to resolve an issue. Okay. So we'll be discussing about these things in detail. Do you guys have any questions on the content, what we are doing, or anything else? Anyone? Guys, you need to acknowledge yes, no, anything.
Actually, the second advanced module is like CCSE, right?
Kind of, it is an advanced module. That's why I said that we are not only covering CCSA, we'll be covering 3 certificates here: CCSA, CCSE, and CCVS, because we are covering VSX also.
Okay, okay.
However, you need to go through the admin guides of each one of them, but the course content is not only for CCSA, it is both intermediate and advanced level as well.
Oh, okay, okay.
This will not only help you to clear the certificate, this will help you to become a checkpoint administrator or clear the interview rounds wherever you are giving the interviews.
Hello,
Yes,
sir, because here, sir, what's the prerequisite knowledge for to learn the checkpoint?
you just need to know the CCNA. If you know about the networking, what is TCP, UDP, what is a packet, OSI model, then it is enough. I mean,
Okay.
we are not going to talk about ARP, what is an ARP, what is a TCP. That's the knowledge which you should have, because this is a firewall. This is obviously an advanced level.
Mm-hmm. Because sir, one thing I observed, so when I attended network security interview, no,
Mhm.
hello.
Yeah.
So that time they're asking mostly that IPsec, GRE, SSL VPN. So like that type, from that they're starting and DHCP, that query messages, DNS queries, that like that.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
they don't want to cover OSPF, EAGRP, BGP like that. That's the thing. So getting a lot of confusion on that, sir.
No. So we have certain topics like HTTPS inspection. In the inspection, we'll be discussing about all these things. About the TLS handshake, about the security part. We have a module for DNS also. When we are talking about different blades, we'll be talking about the DNS queries and everything. So in every class, we'll be discussing about few interview questions as well, and few real life issues, few real life
Mhm.
scenarios as well, which will prepare you for an interview. But OSPF, it depends on the company, it depends on the role which you are applying for. OSPF, BGP may not be necessary, but it doesn't mean that you don't know what this is. But whenever an interview starts, it will always start from an OSI model, TCP IP, and your R. If you're giving an
Okay.
interview for a
Yes.
TAC, if you're giving an interview for a product-based company or the big companies, it will always start from here.
Yes, sir. So mostly they are asking, no, I attended 2 times the network security. They're asking how trace route work, how that ping is
Yes,
working,
yes.
the DNS queries, the DHCP messages, like that. They're asking. They don't want to go for the protocols.
These are the
So that's
protocols
the
only.
no, means OSPF, EIGRP, BGP. So that's why getting some
because
confusions. How to
because you
understand
have
that?
applied for network security. If you are
Yes, yes.
applying for a routing and switching profile, they'll ask you routing.
Mm,
So it depends on what they have written in their GD, right? Based on the
yes, sir.
GD that you need to prepare.
Yes, so things is there having the experience in the routing switching and the here interviewer are asking that different type of questions. So getting lots of confusion. So
So
which
you write
part I
down
have
all
to
the
prepare for
questions.
interview?
You will know once you will go through the course of this
Hmm.
modules. You will know.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, sir.
Hello, teacher.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Anyone else?
Hello, teacher. This is Srijan. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, teacher. I would like to know this course. This course carries for the totally beginner for the checkpoint also. I mean,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You have been saying this is like intermediate and advanced level course, but
Intermediate because firewall is itself is an advanced topic, right? So
right.
at least you should know the CCNS stuff. You should know the TCP IP, OSPF, not OSPF, TCP IP, OSI model at least. You know
Yeah,
what is networking, how networking works, right?
yeah,
Then you
yeah, yeah.
come with the firewall. That is all what we need.
Oh, okay. Because eh, let's say if the person doesn't have any
No,
like
you don't need any prerequisite knowledge of
for the
checkpoint.
checkpoint. Yeah, okay, okay, that's good. Thank you.
Ashish sir, VPN will also be covered, right? In this?
VPN is not a module of it because it's very common. But if you want to know, we can discuss VPN a bit.
Okay.
And sir, NAT and ACL.
That we have a module for it.
Okay.
Okay. So first, let's start with the today's basic class, which is for NGFW. So NGFW is nothing. Next generation firewalls. Next generation firewalls, how they're different from the old firewalls, we will see. They come up with the IPS engine and with the everything, which makes them different from the older generation of the firewalls. Okay, they are more occupied, they're more configured in a way that they can stop the 0-day attacks as well. Like the first day attacks where you do not have any signatures of this. So if you see best design for sandblast 0-day protection, these gateways are best preventing the 5th generation of the cyber attacks. Okay. So to know the checkpoint, we first need to know what checkpoint provides. In their itinerary for the next generation firewalls, there are different types or sizes of the appliances which they provide. The basic one is the small business appliances. You see on the screen, the SMB appliances, which they call it, is a series of 1500, 1600, 1800 series, which are your small appliances like users up to 50 or 100 users. They also have the Wi-Fi antenna, like it is just like your home routers with added capability of a firewall. Okay, so this is for a small business up to 50 or 80 or 100 people. Then the series provided is 1500, 1600, 1800, 3000. This is your branch series firewalls. They have very less ports. You see only 8 ports are there and no fiber ports. So this is for branch offices, for smaller branch offices. Then comes the enterprise series ranges. So there are mid-size enterprise, large-scale enterprise, and high-end enterprises. 6000 series is a part of a mid-size enterprise, which is about a few hundreds to 1,000 of users. You have added more interfaces and physical and fiber interfaces as well in this. And large enterprise will have 7,000 and 16,000 series with, you see, only difference is the added capability. I mean, they can process more traffic per second and more ports. You see, there are more fiber ports provided. The high-end appliances, the 26,000 and the 28,000 series, the similar to the old enterprises, but with additional capability. Then the checkpoint provides the latest series, which is called the Lightspeed Firewall, which the MSP of this firewall is, it provides very fast computers. It provides the throughput. If you see, the firewall throughput is 3 microseconds, ultra low latency. So it is the module, which it is a firewall, which keeping every the firewall or the security aspect alive, it still provides you very low latency. The throughput is high. Okay. The performance from 250 to 800 Gbps per second of the inspection. Then the enterprise or the data center appliances checkpoint offers are called hyperscale network security. These are the similar kind of a branch or a enterprise appliances, but you can club all the small firewalls and use them as a large firewall. That's called a Maestro appliance for checkpoint. You can have up to 52 firewalls in the same stack. So like you stack switches, you can similarly stack a firewall. They will be working as an active. You can stack up to 52 firewalls in this Maestro. So you can think of the computation power it can provide you. So now on checkpoint, you will be hearing the term called blades. Blades by definition means something physical, but checkpoint call it software blade, meaning what happens is when you buy a hardware, they give you a firewall. They give you firewall, but there is nothing additional hardware which you need to plug in case you need to use, for example, IPS, for example, antivirus, for example, anti-bot. It is not like that you need to plug in an additional hardware module for that. When you buy a firewall, you already get a physical box. You need to buy a license when you want to use certain features. So software blade is exactly
IPS
license.
IPS means, sir, I didn't get.
IPS means intrusion prevention system, which prevents attacks, which prevents malwares, which prevents your what do you call it, ransomwares and everything.
Okay, it's an inbuilt feature of checkpoint firewall.
It is a basic terminology. Checkpoint also provides it, obviously. So you just Google IPS and read about it a bit about it. You should know what IPS is. Okay. So here, whatever features you want to use, you can enable it software wise. There is nothing additional needed from the hardware perspective. Software wise, you buy a license from the checkpoint. For example, you want to do URL filtering. You want to block access to Facebook, and you want to block access based on the URLs, not on the basis of IPs, but based on the URLs. So you have to enable this software blade called URL filtering. So for this, you need to have a license. The basic license comes with your firewall and the VPN, but firewall majorly. For additional features, if you want to use like threat prevention features, which is sandblast, antivirus, identity awareness, anti-spam, IPS, anti-bot, all these you have to buy a separate license and you just need to enable it. And then you can start using the features. So similarly, in this document, you can see that branch small offices. These are the capacities defined in this document, about 1 to 7.5 Gbps of the traffic it can process. And this is the series. Branch small offices, enterprise can do up to 48 gigs. Then the data center appliance can do up to 800 gigs. Then this thing, scalable platforms, Maestro can do up to 1500 Gbps of threat prevention. Okay, these are the hardware. This is how a firewall or a Maestro appliance looks like. Normal appliances. These are the series of your light speed appliances, QLS 250, 450, 650, 800. You don't need to remember the names. You just need to know that there is something like that, like what series checkpoint provides. Okay, all the throughput and everything is handy here. You can read out the document to know about the different software models which checkpoint provide. 16,000, 7,000. What are the specifications? How many copper ports it provides? How many fiber ports it have? How many 40 gig ports it have? Every information is in this document. Okay. Any questions till now?
Hello, teacher. Do all those devices have backup power supply also?
Have what?
Backup power supply.
Yeah, everything is written here. Power supply is 1600, it's only one. 1800, there are two power supplies redundant. You can see.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Depends on the model. Like for Maestro Hyperscale, there are 4 power supplies. Depending on the appliance or the category of an appliance, the features obviously will increase.
Okay, okay, sir.
This thing, you see, higher level, this appliance, 26,000, 28,000 have 3 power supplies. They need only one, but 3 are the redundant power supplies. Similarly, every appliance detail is there. I'll share the document with you later. Any questions till now?
So along with physical device, we can opt for
Yes.
virtual, right?
You can install the checkpoint on any VM, on any server.
Okay.
So if you need processing power, obviously you need to buy a hardware, but you can run on VM, but there are multiple variables, right? Your server should be capable enough to process the traffic and everything. But you can deploy a VM anywhere, checkpoint gateway anywhere. Okay, so I'll be talking a bit about the checkpoint architecture. So first of all, the OS which checkpoint runs on is called Gaia OS, Gaia operating system. It's kind of a Greek word which means mother of all. Okay, Gaia OS. Like Palo Alto run on Pan OS, the checkpoint runs on Gaia OS. Fine. In checkpoint, there are the 3-level architecture. There are 2 things. First is called security gateway. Okay, security gateway is nothing but a firewall. Okay, but checkpoint calls it security gateway. The second is SMS, secure management server. This is nothing but a manager. What happens is firewall obviously process the traffic. Firewall is the hardware or a VM which processes the traffic, which inspects the incoming and the outgoing traffic. But the rules which you create, like if you want to permit traffic from 10 network to 20 network, you will define that rule somewhere, right? You define that rule on manager. You define that rule on a separate VM in general. Basically, there are different deployment scenarios, but basically for understanding, we configure that rule on security management server. Okay. Then we push the change to a firewall. When that is called install policy. So we create a policy on checkpoint manager, and then we install that policy on the gateway. Whenever I say gateway, I'm talking about firewall. Once I do this install policy, the newer changes will be applied to the firewall, and firewall will continue to inspect the traffic. Okay. So firewall is nothing but a piece of hardware or a VM which processes the traffic. VM or a SMS server is nothing but a manager which manages this gateway. Okay. This is an SMS. This is a gateway. The gateway talks to the management server. There is a link between gateway and a management server. Now they can be a different hardwares. They can be on the different VMs, VM1, VM2, or you can deploy both on the same piece of hardware or the same VM. That's called a standalone deployment. We'll talk about it later. But for now, you can understand this in a way. Like there are two things. One is the gateway or the firewall. Other one is the manager, which manages everything. Okay. Now, the question may come, why do you need this manager? Why can't I directly configure the rule on this gateway, right? Because one manager can manage multiple firewall. For example, if you're a big organization and you have, let's say, hundreds of firewall, now you want to create one rule on all of the firewalls. So either you do it manually or you run some script, right? If there is no manager, either you need to log into every gateway, then you need to create a rule. Even if you do it with the script, still you have to log into hundreds of the gateways and then you run that script. A lot of manual work, and also it can fail. But if you are using a manager, which Checkpoint provides, there you can manage multiple firewalls across the globe using a same manager server. So all the firewalls will be visible in a dashboard, the Checkpoint dashboard here, and you can create rules on each of these firewalls from one place. So centralized management. Checkpoint provide you centralized management. Centralized management. You can push policies. Now this gateway can have policy 1 or rule 1. This gateway can have policy 2, policy 3. There could be multiple policy package or same policies on all of them. Depends on how you want to create it. Fine. But a manager is required. Without manager, you cannot create a rule on any of the firewall. So to allow a rule, obviously you need to allow the firewall is different from a router because you need to have a state. For state, you have to tell firewall what you need to allow, what you need to block. Okay, this is the basic checkpoint architecture. Now, can you tell me one thing? What is the difference between a router and a firewall? How firewall is different from a router?
A router is used to connect two different network.
Okay, you can use firewall also to connect two different networks. It also works in layer 3.
A router cannot perform layer 7 level of application packets.
Application what?
I mean, layer 7 packet cannot be filtered using routers. Maybe in firewall we can filter layer 7
Filtered as in?
block or check.
Okay.
Application level packets.
Okay, one thing. App inspection. But can you do any other kind of inspection on router apart from ACL? Can't do anything else.
Yeah, like IDS, IPS thing cannot be found in a router, I guess.
But there's a basic difference between a router and firewall is that a router,
The router is not designing for filter the packet. It's not inspect the packet. But
if you create an ACL, it can do that, right? At least on the basis of IP. Like on Cisco, you create an ACL, Cisco routers, so it can inspect the traffic.
okay.
So the major difference between a router and switch is router does not maintain a connection state, meaning whenever you throw any packet onto the router, it will process the router. It will just check the routing. It will just see the routing table and forward the packet. But firewall, it maintains the connection state, maintains connection state. What do you mean by connection state? Because every firewall is a stateful firewall. Stateful or stateless, those terms. You can just write it down and do your own research on it. Stateful, stateless firewalls.
Stateful means packet which is going outside while returning it. That device will inspect that packet. Correct, sir?
Kind of. So whenever a packet traverses through a gateway, through a firewall, it maintains a state based on source IP, 5 tuples, destination IP, source port, and destination port. And last is protocol, TCP or UDP. So these 5 tuples information is used to create a connection state. So once a connection, let's say I am sending a traffic from 10.0.0.1 to 20.0.0.1, based on the packet information, it will create a connection state. The return packet will only be allowed if it just matches any of these states. If it doesn't match any of the connection state, then the packet will not be permitted, the return traffic. Other than that, it should have a SYN packet. Let's say you send a SYN packet, it will make a connection state. The SYN ACK will only be processed if it matches this connection state. Otherwise, the packet will be dropped. Okay. So stateful firewall means there is a state, is a connection state. The firewall knows what is flowing through it. Like a router, it doesn't maintain any state, doesn't maintain any table of what it is processing, what is passing through it. Whenever a packet reaches the router, it checks the routing table, sends the packet out. But firewall, it doesn't do like that. It maintains the connection state. It knows what are the what are the IPs, what are the networks which I am inspecting, or what is the current traffic flowing through the firewall. Okay, any questions?
It's like connection table we use in ASA.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the stateless firewall, sir?
There are no states. That's called a stateless firewall.
So every next generation firewall is connection stateful firewall like
Yes.
that, no? Like the Cisco ASA, Checkpoint, Palo Alto.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, is there any firewall being used as a stateless?
There are multiple options which you can use. Checkpoint, you cannot make it stateless. Like there's an option on Juniper firewall which is called a packet mode, where you can just process the packet like a router. So that is the stateless, but you cannot do it on Checkpoint. It's always stateful.
Is there any other major difference between firewall and router apart from this stateful inspection, Ashish?
This is the major one.
Okay.
There are multiple other differences, but this is a major.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the basic things. Whatever I'm telling you to just do a research, just go through it once. So, as we discussed, what is a firewall? A firewall is a network security device that monitors, filters incoming, outgoing network traffic based on an organization's previously established security policies. At its most basic, a firewall is essentially the barrier that sits between a private internal network and a public internet. A main purpose of firewall is to allow non-threatening traffic in and to keep dangerous traffic out. Correct? A bit about history of firewalls. Firewalls existed since late 1980s and started out as packet filters. Per packet inspection was there, which were networks set to examine packets or bytes transferred between computers. Though packet filtering firewalls are still in use today, firewalls have come a long way as technology has developed. Gen 1 firewalls were called virus. Gen 1 virus firewalls, Generation 1, late 1980. Virus attacks on standalone PCs affected all business and drove antivirus products. The antiviruses on our laptops are Gen 1 kind of a firewalls. Then Gen 2, they discussed about networks. In Generation 2, mid 1990s, attacks from the internet affected all businesses and drove creation of the firewall. Gen 3 are applications where the hackers started exploiting vulnerabilities into applications like FTP, HTTP, all these things. Then the payload, when they targeted the machines using some attacks, like they're sending a malicious file, the payload based attacks in 2010. In Generation 5 Mega, which 2017 large scale multi-vector mega attacks using advanced attack tools and is driving advanced threat prevention solutions. The 0-day kind of a thing. Okay. So Checkpoint back in 1993, Checkpoint has a CEO called Gil Schwed, introduced the first stateful inspection firewall. Firewall 1 fast forward up around 27 years, and firewall is still an organization's first line of defense against cyber attack. So Checkpoint is the first company which introduced stateful inspection. Stateful inspection, what we just discussed, maintaining a state of a connection. So Checkpoint was the first firewall which introduced the stateful inspection thing. There are different types of firewalls. First one is called packet filtering. A small amount of data is analyzed and distributed according to the filter standard, where every packet is being analyzed. Second, a proxy, a network security system that protects while filtering messages at the application layer. Like there are multiple proxies in market, Citrix, Zscaler, F5. Proxy services, stateful inspection firewalls, dynamic packet filtering that monitors active connections to determine which packet networks to allow through the firewall. That's called stateful firewall. Then the NGFW, where the deep packet level inspection happens, where any firewall and checkpoint firewall can open a packet and see what's going inside the packet and whether it matches any attack signature or not. What firewalls actually do? A firewall is a necessary part of any security architecture and takes the guesswork out of host level protections and entrusts them to your network security devices. Firewalls and especially NGFW focus on blocking malware and application layer attacks. Layer 7, along with an integrated IPS and NGFW, can react quickly and seamlessly to detect and react to outside attacks across the whole network. They can set policies to better defend your network and carry out a quick assessment to detect invasive and suspicious activity like malwares, and then you can shut it down. Why do you need firewalls? Especially NGFW focus on blocking malware, application layer attacks, layer 7, which are already encrypted. So all layer 7 data will by default be encrypted under SSL. All the firewalls, they have to decrypt the data using HTTPS inspection. Once they decrypt the data and see the clear text, then they inspect the data and then let it flow through it. Are able to react quickly and seamlessly to detect the combat attacks across the whole network. Firewalls can attach to a set of policies to better protect your network. Network layer versus application layer inspection. So network layer inspection means you are doing allowing or blocking traffic based on the IP addresses. That is working on layer 3. Application layer means you are doing analysis not only based on the IP addresses, but based on the application signatures. Like you want to block Facebook, you want to allow YouTube, based on the application signatures and based on the traffic going in the layer 7, you do that analysis. Network layer of packet filters inspects packets at a relatively low level of the TCP/IP protocol stack, not allowing packets to pass through the firewall unless they match the established rule set, where the source and destination of the rule set is based upon internet protocol IP addresses and ports. Right? Firewall that do network layer inspection perform better than similar devices that do application layer inspection. The downside is that unwanted applications or malwares can pass over allowed ports. Example, in a basic network layer firewall, you are allowing port 80 and 443, but any attacker can use that or exploit this port 80 and 443 and send a malicious payload to your organization. Fine. This is all about the basics of the firewall. Any questions till now?
Sir, now one thing, what is the main difference between these next gen firewalls and this packet filtering firewalls?
Application
In
level
next gen,
inspection.
okay. So checkpoint is the next gen firewall, right?
Yes.
And sir, what are the models like if you want a particular services? So those models are also available in the market.
Models as in?
Models like if you want only this packet filtering firewalls.
No.
Okay.
Ashish, can you elaborate on the malwares, how it will be like and how it is affecting our personal data and something like exactly what the scenario will be like, how the malware is attacking?
Have you heard about the ransomware attacks?
Just a little bit namesake I have heard it, but I don't know exactly what happened on the ransomware.
So what a malware is what? A piece of code which can affect your network. How it can affect your network is there are several types. For example, you are in a banking sector. Okay. You have servers. Now, if you have a malware attack or a DDoS attack, you can have a denial of service, meaning your servers will no longer respond to the request because there are millions of requests coming in. That's a kind of attack where you, where you pose a threat to the organization so that it cannot provide its service. So you can imagine that impact. For example, you are trying to you're digital, you're trying to transfer the money and the bank is not responding, right? There is a kind of an attack, or in that attack, all your online account passwords and user IDs are leaked. Your money is gone, right? So all these kind of an attack, all this infrastructure will need firewalls. Every institution, every financial institution will have more than one firewall. Not even one vendor, they will have 2 3 vendors firewalls. Traffic, whenever, let's say you are using any bank, XYZ bank, SBI, HDFC, your traffic whenever you are doing anything passes through multiple firewalls, then it lands on the server. Okay.
Okay.
The malwares, it can do multiple things. It can steal your data or it can block your data. For example, you're a database company, or let's say even a bank where you have multiple files. So what a ransomware can do, it can lock all your files, and they will only release your files once you pay them. So people,
Yeah.
like last year, the industries have suffered billions of dollars loss in the ransomware attack. Meaning
Okay.
you cannot retrieve your data until unless you pay them. You have to pay them. So
Yeah.
to save yourself from that, you need a firewall.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Thanks, Ashish.
Okay, any other questions?
Nothing from my end, Ashish.
Okay. So in our lab, we will be using EVNG. You can deploy your the firewalls on your EVNG, or your if you want to use your VMs, your laptops, you can deploy it on VMware Workstation. So you can take a screenshot of it, and in the deployment class, we'll be deploying it. So if you want to use the networking slab, you just take a screenshot, reach out to your coordinator and ask them to deploy the lab for you. Because you cannot deploy the lab, you can just use it. Okay. We'll be talking how to deploy in detail in the deployment class, but this is how the lab will look like in first few classes. So as we discussed, there is a firewall. Okay, this is a firewall which will do all the inspection. There is a manager where you will create all the rules. Okay, so two terms in short: management and a firewall. Firewall can be accessed both using the CLI or a web UI. So using like you are accessing your home routers using the web UI, or you can use the CLI like you access any other router. Similarly for the management. Okay. To configure rules on management, you cannot even configure rules from the CLI or the web UI of the management. So for that, there is a software which Checkpoint provides, like just a second. Like Cisco, when you are logging into the ASA, it provides you multiple ASDM, right? A software to access the ASA. Similarly, Checkpoint, to create a rules and to manage your firewalls, this is a software here, which is called Smart Console. Using this software, you create rules on manager, and then you push that settings onto the firewall. So once you open this, admin is the username. We'll put the password. A screen of such sort will appear. This is the view of your management server. We will discuss about the smart console and navigate it later. But in the gateways and server sections, you see the gateway. This is your firewall. You can have multiple of these firewalls, and all the firewalls can be managed using this one screen, one dedicated centralized management server. Management server will be accessed using a software called Smart Console. So there are only three terms: Smart Console, a software to access manager; management server is called Smart Management Server, SMS; security gateway, which is a firewall. Okay, these three terminologies. Now, before we move, let me give you an overview about the versions. So we talked that Checkpoint offer Gaia OS. Every kind of the hardware which Checkpoint provides. For example, we if we divide it into three categories: the SMB or small medium scale, the other one is your enterprise, and the Maestro hyperscale. With 3 types of appliances. The OS, currently the OS is similar for all these 3, but earlier the OS for SMB is called Embedded Gaia. Okay, Embedded Gaia. The versions are RET20, RET20.x. Enterprise level is called similar as Gaia. Maestro is also Gaia. Now, what are the different flavors of OSs which Checkpoint provides is, as someone said, R77 is, so the different vendors use different terminologies to name their versions, like 15.1x or something like that. Checkpoint uses R. So R77 was there, R76 was there, then came into picture R80, then R81. Okay, so 77 is legacy, nobody is using it, it is end of support. R80, there are several flavors of version in R80, which is called R80.10, R80.20, R80.30, R80.40. There are these 4 versions in R80 flavor. You can use any of this. So these 3 are also now out of support. Meaning, even if you can use it, but Checkpoint will not support you on these versions. So only supported version left in R80 is R80.40. Okay, and the latest, not the latest, the current one is R81, R81 flavor and R81.10. Okay. Recently, few days back, Checkpoint releases a newer version called R81.20. This is the latest version, which is not even deployed anywhere. What is the Checkpoint recommended version? That is R81.10. This is the Checkpoint recommended version and the latest version. All your certificates will be based on R81, R81 and R81.10. In our labs, we will be using the same versions, R81 and R81.10. Okay. These are the flavors of Checkpoint versions. You don't need to cram it. You just need to know there is something called R80 and R81. The latest one is R81.10. Okay. Any questions?
No, sir.
So we will be doing our labs, or we will learn everything in this newer version, 81.10.
Yeah. 81 and 81.10, both are the newer versions. Both are the same almost.
So if we want to, just like we have said earlier, if we want to set up our lab ourselves, do you also provide us this Gaia OS?
Network Kings can provide you. It's already there on a Google Drive.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So Checkpoint provides a trial version for 15, I think 15 or 30 days, where you can do all your labs. Then you need to buy a license. So the trial OS will be using. Okay. So we discussed about the gateways, the management, the gateways, and one more thing. So like we saw the series for the gateway, the firewall, the SMS also there is a hardware series which is called Smart One Appliance. This is the hardware for the management. Okay. Now, I'll show you a bit about the firewall. So firewall, as I told you, there are two methods which how you can access it. First one is the CLI, which is mainly for the admins. So that you can do your job, you can troubleshoot and do whatever you like. Second is web UI for layman or for your monitoring purposes. Once you log in, you land into a mode. You see the gateway. Gateway is my host name. Okay, I'm telling you just the basic commands. Gateway is my host name. And this greater than sign is one mode. You land into this mode, like in Cisco, there are different modes, right? Config, T, your normal mode. So here it is called CLISH or CLISH mode, CLI mode, which is called CLISH. Okay, that's a basic mode. In this mode, you do all the configuration, or you can see the configuration, like show configuration. So checkpoint commands are very easy. Generally Linux commands or basic English commands. In this mode, you can run all your basic English checkpoint commands. The show configuration command to see all the configuration of the checkpoint. You see the configuration is very easy. If you want to do anything, you just need to do a set and configure. That's all. Like if I want to do a show configuration, you can do. If you want to see any interface, what will do? Show interfaces. It will show you all the available interfaces you have. Show interfaces, detail, or put a tab. Once you put a tab, it will auto complete it, everything. So you see the detail about all the interfaces. Ethernet 0 state is on, MAC address is this, type Ethernet, MTU is 1500, auto negotiation on, speed is 1 gig, IPv6 not configured, duplex is full, monitor not configured, link speed, comments if any, or IP address on that interface. If you want to set anything, like set command is used, then you do a tab. Once you do a tab, it will tell you all the operations which you can do after set. So set ARP, set backup, set everything is here. For example, you select set interfaces, then you put a tab here again. It is giving an option of set interface name. You do space, then again tab. It is giving you which interface you want to set. Let's say Ethernet 3. Then again you hit tab. Again, it gives you options what you want to configure: auto negotiation, comments, IPv4 address, IPv6 address, MTU, ring size, whatever. So you'll configure IPv4 address. Then you can give any address like 30.0.0.1. Then again hit tab. It is asking you to provide mask length or subnet mask. So we'll do mask length 24. Then hit enter. Okay. Now you have configured it. But if I reboot the gateway now, the configuration will vanish. So like in Cisco, you do write operation or copy running configuration into the startup configuration. Here also you have to do the same thing. But the command is very simple, which is save config. That is all. You just do a save config and the configuration will be saved. Okay. That is a basic mode to configure and do see the configuration, run your basic commands, run your ping, telnet, trace route, everything from here. Then there is a next level of mode which is called expert. This is for your troubleshooting. Okay, you go into this mode, you will be landing into this mode which starts from hash. Okay. In this mode, you can run all the Linux based commands. So checkpoint, the underlying OS is Linux. You see uname Linux. Linux gateway 3.10.0 is the kernel version of this Linux. 64-bit GNU is Linux. Whatever your Linux based commands are, ls, cat, vi, vim. Okay, all commands will work here. ifconfig to list you all the interfaces. Whatever your Linux commands are, most of the commands, the basic commands will run here. Okay. pwd, home admin, all the commands, basic commands will run. So this is the mode where you troubleshoot issues on checkpoint. Questions?
So we have to know the Linux commands also to learn the checkpoints.
A bit, yes. You just Google the basic Linux command and need to do just check what is the meaning of the command and what it does. Like mostly around 10-15 commands are there. Just the basic you need to know.
Okay, sir.
But without it, you will not be able to do anything on checkpoint. So you need to learn the basic commands.
So, sir, all the policies and rules are set in this expert mode, or it is in basic mode only?
I told you, you cannot set any rule from CLI. You have to use Smart Console.
Okay.
Using Smart Console, you access the management server. On management server, you implement a rule. Then you install the policy and the rule gets pushed to the firewall. That's the flow.
Do we have any option to check the rules in CLI?
You can see that.
Okay.
Not the rules, but which rule the traffic should hit. Any other questions? So this is the CLI mode. Two modes, CLI, glitch mode and expert mode. Both you know now. Now, if you want to access the web UI, need to go here, HTTPS, then the IP 20, not one. You land into this screen, which says checkpoint RAT1. You put the same credentials, admin123, and it will give you a GUI view of this. In the GUI, you will see all the software blades which are enabled. We discussed about the software, different software blades. All the software blades you can see which are enabled here. You can see the throughput, packet rate, everything also from the graphs here. And real time you can monitor what all your interfaces are configured and whether your interface's link status is up or not. Up or down, you can see that in green. There are any LEDs and everything, you can see everything here as well. Your basic view. It is Linux 3.10, 64-bit, build number, uptime is 5 hours, 18 minutes. Okay. That is an overview. On the left-hand side, you see the different tabs, network management. Network management, network interfaces here. You can add or delete any interface also. Okay. You can edit, add, delete anything what you want to do, you can do. If you want to add an ARP here, manual static ARP entry, you can add it. If you want to change the time, you can do as well. Set date and time, set time zone like it's Europe. You can change it to anywhere you want to. If you want to configure routing, DHCP, everything you can configure from here as well. You can configure PIM, BGP, IGMP, broadcast helper, everything here. If you want to add more users, like we only have admin and monitor. If you want to add a user, you can just add one more user here. Login name, password, confirm password, everything you can provide and login. Then if you want to configure VRRP, that can be done. License status, everything can be checked from here. Upgrade, if you want to do, that is also you can do from here. Okay. So two ways. In GUI, you cannot configure, you cannot use everything, obviously. There is a limited functionality, but this is good. You can either do most of the things, most of the basic stuff you can do from the GUI. Then if something is not there, you can use the CLI. Okay. Any questions?
Ashish, we will be doing the configuration and installation of SMS and as well as the gateway, right?
Yeah.
In labs.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is the deployment module, next module.
Okay.
First, you are just understanding the architecture, what checkpoint is, and everything basic.
Okay.
Sir, one question. You said on gateway we can configure interface, delete, remove. So will it automatically reflect in Smart Manager, or we have to do any changes for that?
Manager, you have to do a change, but here web UI it will be visible.
Okay.
Manager, how you can change it, or how the manager updates itself, that we'll discuss later.
Sir, actually you said on gateway we can add, right? So that was my question. If you're adding on the gateway or doing any changes like adding routes, you said, if we do it on a gateway GUI, will it get reflected in Smart Manager as well?
Manager has nothing to do with the routes in your interface configuration. You just create a policy from the manager. So your all basic configuration, interface level configuration, routing, BGP, everything, you only need to use the CLI or web UI, GUI of this. Manager has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Manager comes into picture when you are creating a policy. Apart from that, all your basic stuff, that is you do locally on the gateway. Okay, any other questions? Okay. So similar to the gateway, you can access the CLI of management as well. See this management written, same commands, ifconfig and everything will work on management as well. Both are Linux based. Now, if you want to see some command like pwd is the Linux command, which will show your current working directory, home admin. If you want to see the files in home admin, ls-lh, no files, is a directory called var log. I can see all the files listed under the var log. If I want to open a file, what will I do? I do a cat. Cat means open that file. And let's say I'm giving messages. It will open the file for me, complete file. If I don't want to see the complete file, I'll do more. More. Then it will show me the starting some lines. Then I'll put enter or space, and I can read the complete log file. Okay. VIM command to change anything. That is the basics of the command which we have to use on the daily basis. Okay. So I think we should not do much in this class, as this is the first class. You guys need to read about some topics like stateful firewall. This is your homework or the questions which you should know. Basic Linux commands. Go through the OSI model, ARP as well. We'll be discussing about interview questions after few of the starting classes, so that we'll put a base. Then we'll start the interview questions as well. The basic thing which you need to know is go through the document which I'll share. Do your research about checkpoint a bit, about what is a gateway, what is a management server, basic Linux command. Go yourself through the OSI model and ARP part. So the important part is the basic Linux command you should know. That's all. Okay. Any questions if you want to
Yes,
ask?
sir. I'm having one doubt.
Hmm.
Can we compare to Palo Alto with checkpoint and which can protect better, sir?
No. You cannot compare the two vendors like that.
So
It's
which
like
having that?
it is like you're buying a car. Some features will be good in one car, some features will be good in the other car to the same price. It depends on the user needs. Some want more mileage, some want luxury. So depends on the user, different on your organization, you go with the vendors.
Okay. So it depends on vendor, not for that firewall, right?
It depends on you, it depends on your organization.
Organization, yes.
If you're buying a Palo Alto and you do not have a network admin, you do not have a workforce to use Palo Alto, what will you do? You have to invest again in the training. But if you already
Correct.
have a people of Palo Alto, you buy Palo Alto. If you have people of Checkpoint,
Yes.
you can buy Checkpoint.
Correct.
And most organizations, big organizations, there are a mix of firewalls. Like in the data center, they'll put Checkpoint. On the edge, they will put Palo Alto. In between, they'll put Fortinet. So it's not like one firewall is they're dependent on one vendor. Big organizations, they're never dependent on one vendor. There will be at least two vendors involved. The same traffic will be processed by two firewalls every time.
Okay.
It depends how you want to use, because some vendors, every vendor have a strong points, like stateful inspection is a checkpoint strong point, IPS is a strong point. Palo Alto will have a different strong point. So use the same strong points in the different parts of your network. Any other questions? Guys, any other questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, no.
No.
Okay, so I'll
Sir, class timing, sir, in 3 o'clock only, sir. Saturday, Sunday.
yeah, 3 to 5.
3 to 5. Okay. Okay, sure.
So in that timing still we'll be doing the labs, or apart from this timing we'll be doing labs?
Sorry, again.
So what time will be the labs? Is it on the same time? 3 p.m.?
Yeah, in the same class.
Okay.
Sir, whatever the course module that syllabus is there, can you upload in that portal, inside the portal? We can practice it further.
What do you want? Sorry, syllabus.
That syllabus course content. So at least we can make
Course
note
content,
now
whatever
according to
PDF or whatever Word documents I'm using, you will get it at the end of the
yes.
class.
Today onwards.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay, guys, that is all. If you do not have any further questions, we'll wind up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, that is all.
Okay,
Goodbye.
sir.
We'll meet tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ashish. By tomorrow, same time, right? 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.